Evening YouTube, Ian here from Coolice Charge Case and Power Supplies. Hope you're all safe and well, and if you're in the UK, I hope you haven't been blown away because it's very windy and very wet outside, so roll on summer. I have the other charge case here that I've just completed that I'd like to show you all. This one's for Naif, and I think it has got to go to Saudi Arabia, I think, from memory. I need to double check. Obviously with what's going on in the world, that could be a bit of an issue, but obviously after this video I'm going to safely pack it up in the box, weigh it, measure it, and try and find out what's going on there, because I need to give the customer a price to get it delivered. But anyway, let's stop waffling on and let's show Naif what he's getting. So we've gone for a Nanuk 930 case in this instance, and this is their, I think it's their olive colour. It's actually really a nice colour up close in person. I was a bit sceptical to start with, but it works well, so I'm really pleased. Now this case is, let me see if I can open it up one-handed. Still got a little bit of a seal on it. Now this case is going to house an iCharger 406 Duo in the lid, as you can see. That was one of the reasons actually why this case was specified. Customer wanted the charger in the lid, and of course it's not necessarily a thin charger, it's quite tall, so we needed to go for, I needed to find the case with obviously a decent lid depth to it, and this one popped up quite nicely. And indeed, based on my trials and errors, because I have got some photographs of the empty shell. I have an empty shell of a 406 Duo here. So obviously that's how I worked out all the mounting brackets that are obviously in there ready to go. Because the customer basically, he's going to have to take out the 6 screws on the back of the shell and remove the lower case half from the Duo itself, which I've already explained to him. And then the PCB and front half of the casing, which will obviously then be visible from the front here, that'll then bolt into the brackets quite nicely. So to all intents and purposes, when it's fitted in place, it will still look like a 406 Duo from the front, but it'll also be mounted securely inside the lid. If I'd have had the charger, potentially I might have taken it apart myself and worked out how to do it and maybe mount the screen and the buttons individually, but I don't, due to the logistics of getting it sent to me. So that was the next best thing. And to be fair, I suppose from any warranty perspective, going forward, should this design be made for anyone else and they purchase a new iCharger Duo to go with it, if you're only removing the back shell, you're not going to affect the warranty in any way, shape or form. So that was great. So as you can see, the charger will sit there, bit of cardboard, a bit of pack in there to obviously keep the wires safe, because obviously I've got the charging ports here. Now as you can see, there's multiple points here. So obviously it'll be channel 1 on the left and channel 2 on the right, and obviously the JST XHs. All these connectors, same connectors, are in parallel. So each individual pin of the XHs is in parallel. So you can use either or both at the same time if you wanted to parallel charge 2 packs. 2 positive 4mm banana jacks are in parallel, 2 negatives, and of course then the 2 XC6s are also in parallel as well. So they're going to go straight back to each one of the channels of the charger. I was conscious obviously it is going to quite a warm country, so I wanted to make sure there was going to be enough airflow, so I have fitted another set of secondary cooling fans up here. The original iCharger ones will obviously be maintained in place, but they'll be supplemented. Obviously they'll be just helping to pull airflow across the massive heatsink on the back of the power FETs that are on the main PCB. And then of course I've got 2 larger ones here which obviously will draw out a lot of air, so that's good. So that'll keep that nice and cool. Nothing else too major there. Obviously we've got my usual cable chain there with 2 8-gauge wires then taking power up into the lid, so that's good. The lower half is where it's becoming a little bit more interesting, if you like. So again, got my ice meter 2 there. Now if I turn it on, we're going to let it boot up. As before with my previous video, there we go, it's serial number. It's going to take a few seconds to boot up, because of course this unit now is multi-role. It's obviously checking to try and figure out what it's connected to, and in this case it will come back obviously with HP common slot eventually when it does it. So as you can see, usual sort of format. I got my 2 cooling fans there as well, and there are 75/30s again. To try and keep air moving, I've gone for the biggest I could possibly squeeze in there, and obviously then we do get good airflow. Once they turn on, you'll be able to hear them. USB charge port again here. Obviously the small push button, run button there to obviously start, stop the ice meter, which is now, there we go. So now we're getting to the point where when it first comes up, obviously display, there you go. Sometimes get a bit of gobbledygook on there. I'm going to try and see perhaps if eventually Steve can change the code for me so it doesn't show anything until it starts getting any feedback, but it's basically just thinking, oh, where's the signal? So if I just press the momentary switch once, power supply is going to start, denoted by that, and here we go. Now we've got the population of the data on the LCD display there, so that's quite nice. And as you can hear, the fans are working. And then of course then the ones up here as well. These ones are a bit smaller, 60/28, but surprisingly they give a real decent amount of airflow, so I'm pleased. So they're going to keep air flowing, they're going to pull ambient air in and then obviously exhaust it out from the top, which is quite nice. So lower down, we're now up and running. As you can see, USB charge port is on, 25 volts coming out of the 2 combined power supplies. The ice meter is running, and of course then the Wi-Fi is active, so you could log into it with a computer or handheld device and obviously see what the voltage is doing that way. Air slots in at the front, and then of course then for me, we've got the switch operated storage compartment with the strip of NeoPixels then at the front to shine it up. Now the opening on this, obviously I have kept it the same sort of size. I was conscious with the deck not to compromise it too much by making the cutout too much bigger, but I made a revision of the storage bucket then to create the compartment, because the power supply, the lower half of the case isn't potentially quite as deep as the Max brand. I had to reduce the height of the storage compartment here underneath the lid. So what I did to compensate then, I made another version of this, and it actually goes in. If I slide my hand, we've actually got more space going back under here. So even though the deck finishes, the deck cutout, should I say, finishes here, got a little bit more space going in with the bucket underneath. So that's quite nice. So you can get a little bit more slid in there, which would be quite nice. And show it a little bit there. And of course then the LEDs, the NeoPixels, I've just got them going at a certain flash pattern for the time being, but Nath can also change that to his heart's content with the app, which I will go through, and of course the switch there will turn them off when you close the lid. And also you can hear the magnets in the lid, grab that and keep it closed. Obviously for transit it's going to end up going a long way through the post, so it's going to be boxed up and then obviously have a lot of fragile parcel tape wrapped around it. I will obviously put some bubble wrap on top of the deck kind of thing, so if this lid does flap open and close a couple of times during transit, it's not going to cause any damage. I might even put a couple of strips of low tack masking tape there, as well as a double belt and braces thing to try and keep that lid closed if it gets bumped and scraped around, or thrown around should I say, by the airline. But I'm very pleased. Hopefully customer will be very pleased when he eventually gets it. And yeah, this will be another one out in the wild. Back again. Yeah. As usual, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and for all your charging needs, give me a shout. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.